Individuals are oftentimes alone. Gang stalkers like to get permission before they do something. Targeted individuals like to be independent. Gang stalkers like to instigate problems and commotions. Targeted individuals like to avoid them. You have a clash of natures when you look at targeted individuals and clandestine gang stalkers. But how does it implement itself? How does the gang stalking practice self-replicate, ladies and gentlemen, in such a way that it endures through the generations? Well, let's look at this matter truthfully. All right? Now, gang stalking starts at what you might refer to as the federal level. All right? It is a continuation of Sir Setson, MK Ultra, COINTELPRO, Operation Chaos, Operation Bluebird, Operation Artichoke, MK Search, MK Naomi, Operation Big City, Operation Sea Spray. So many devastating and harmful operations that were carried out by the U.S. Army and the national security apparatus in this country against select American targets. Ladies and gentlemen, now it is true that the Zersetson originated in Soviet East Germany, but the United States brought it, the United States' national security apparatus brought it right here. For social engineering purposes. And to allow a select few to control the lives and the trajectories, indeed to attempt to control the very destinies of the rest of the people. How does that work? Well, ladies and gentlemen, like Benito Mussolini's OVRA, which he ran in the 1940s, clandestine gang stalking utilizes civilian assailants, civilian spies, civilian disruptors, civilian actors that act in unison to disrupt the targeted individual and subvert his path forward. It's subversion 101, ladies and gentlemen, but it starts at the federal level. Gang stalking is not a program that the American people or any people can just get together and sort of implement on their own. No, the opposite. There's no way that any civilian population of any country could just get together and put such a thing together on their own, silently, while continuing their daily lives. It would be impossible. This program utilizes military strategic formations and all kinds of gadgetry that is obviously derivative of military industrial grade social engineering. That's obvious. And since public works are also being manipulated and public facilities are also being manipulated, that tells me that gang stalking is of a governmental nature. All right, now I'm not here to condemn Congress. I'm not here to abuse Congress. But it'd be nice if Congress would look into this a little deeper. I give Congress credit for its June 30th hearing on MK Ultra. That was refreshing to hear Congress talk about a platform that led to gang stalking. But I'd like to hear Congress go a step further and talk about gang stalking itself and make its operations and its auspices plain and clear to the global community. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when you talk about social outsourcing, you're talking about, as I said at the beginning of this lecture, the outsourcing of constitutional violations, right? Not everybody that participates in this program can be a member of the armed services or a member of the national security apparatus or a member of the national intelligence apparatus in this country. All right, not everybody who participates in clandestine gang stalker can be a contractor of the federal government, okay? Not everyone who participates in clandestine gang stalking is going to have anything to do with the government at all. As a matter of fact, a lot of people who practice it have absolutely no government affiliations at all. They're just everyday Americans who think a signaling mechanism that allows them to pester people, not only in person but also in their vehicles, is a smart, cool thing. And they participated in it against their better judgment. And, you know, ladies and gentlemen, I can hear it now. Well, Smith, you try running a country of 311 million people. Okay, that's obviously what they'll say, ladies and gentlemen. When this matter is brought to light, well, you try managing a country of over 300 million people and see what you can come up with. Ladies and gentlemen, okay, fine. It wouldn't be anything to sit down with 50 governors, maybe 100 Congress people, and find a way to eliminate the need for such a program. You could probably accomplish that in 3 days. One weekend is all it would take. But no, you got the national security apparatus in this country dragging on from year to year to year to year to year with this same hostile, thuggish, and pandering disruption and attack mechanism, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? You can't make this stuff up, and truth is stranger than fiction because the gang stalking mechanism is stranger than any movie I've ever seen. It's stranger than any book.
Me too. Stranger than any movie I've ever seen myself.
I've ever read. It's stranger than any video game I've ever played. This gang stalking program is absolutely bananas, ladies and gentlemen. And, you know, when you talk about social outsourcing, it's basically the national security apparatus in this country saying, look, this job is too big. We can't do this all ourselves. We can't play the gang stalkers and go back home to our families every night. We'd get burned out. We can't be gang stalkers and family men and employees. All right, we get burned out. So what the national security apparatus of this country did was they said, well, we can outsource this gang stalking campaign stuff. We don't have to do it all ourselves. What do we got in the United States? 100,000 targeted individuals, maybe more? Maybe we're up to 500,000 targeted individuals in the U.S. now. That's 500,000 people, ladies and gentlemen. The national security apparatus in this country can't do it itself. It needs help. It needs assistance. You can't pester and disrupt 500,000 Americans easily. You need a big population to do that. So what did they do? They outsourced the action to volunteer civilian disruptors. We can call them VCDs. Volunteer Civilian Disruptors, VCD, ladies and gentlemen. And for every VCD in this country that decides, hey, you know what? I, from this day forward, am going to be a gang stalker. Well, they said that day, at that precise moment, ladies and gentlemen, they swear a solemn oath before God to perpetually, from this day forward, conduct themselves like an absolute knucklehead. And a lot of them will do it in front of their families too, ladies and gentlemen. I've talked in the past and will continue to talk about what we call the family man stalkers. All right, you've all seen them, the guys that are taking their family out on a nice outing. But the nice day out with the family was only the ruse. They're not looking for a nice day out with the family. They just tricked their family into thinking they want a nice day out with them. They're taking their families out into the open so that they can go around looking for signals. And the families don't know. The wife, the kids, they have no clue what's happening. They think it's just a nice day out with dad. Right? That's what they think. That's what he's tricked them into thinking. But that's just what a gang stalker does, ladies and gentlemen. They're deceptive. Okay? So what you'll see is a family man, a husband and a father. He'll take his wife and kids out on a nice outing. And while they're out, he's actually sending and receiving signals to stalkers, perhaps to pester somebody and perhaps as practice, because yeah, gang stalkers do practice signaling while they're out. Even if there's no one to pester, they signal each other just to sort of keep sharp and to keep in shape with their gang stalking mechanics. Like, I'll give you an example, ladies and gentlemen. It would be like dart practice. Okay,